Hello, my name is George Ezra, and these are my 5 essential tracks.
He wants to be a paperback writer. You got my soul. This ain't gonna change your mind. Hey, Mr. Tambourine Man, play a song for me.
But we gotta get it right. We can't get it wrong.
I find it kind of easy. I mean, I find it easy in the sense that I've left a lot out, but I've gone for 5 I love. So the first track I've picked is a song called Paperback Writer by the Beatles. And the reason I picked it is because I distinctly remember I was at the family computer. It was like this big thing, this big ugly computer. And I remember finding it on the internet, not knowing what it was.
Dirty story of a dirty man and his clinging wife doesn't understand. His son is working for the Daily Man. It's a steady job, but he wants to be a paperback writer. Paperback writer.
You know, I thought the Beatles were strictly like, love, love me do. You know, I thought it was all that kind of stuff. And it's just this killer song. And I'd never listened to the end of the song because I just had to keep restarting it. You know, when they give rats that water with sugar in it and they love it, it was like that. So I remember it being a bit of an awakening for me. I seem to remember it being on YouTube. And who knows, it must have just been a recommended song. Do you know what? I'm going to say no in the sense I don't go into the studio and, cite them often. But at the same time, I imagine they probably influence all of us. It's hard. They kind of invented it, didn't they? So, yeah, subconsciously, we probably do pull inspiration for them a lot. The Rolling Stones, You Got the Silver. Yeah, so I remember I must have been about 15 and I got a job working in a pub. And for Christmas, my dad got me Keith Richards' autobiography. And I knew nothing about the Rolling Stones. I knew like what you're supposed to know. So I knew Satisfaction and Honky Tonk Women and stuff like that. And this book is like a doorstop. It's huge. And I used to carry it around in my college bag and read it on the bus and then go and work. And then read it when I got home from the late shift. And it was just, I couldn't put it down. And I absolutely loved it.
You got my soul. You got the silver. You got the gold. If that's your love, just leave me blind. I don't care. No.
I think it's the simplicity of it in the sense that it really sounds like one man, a guitar and a room. You know, it sounds like a mic, they press record and then they stopped and that was it. You know, I love that. Yeah, as a result, I ended up going back and listening to a lot of Rolling Stones. And this is a song that Keith Richards sings. And it's just, I think it's beautiful. And then the first year that I played Glastonbury Festival, the Rolling Stones were headlining and I was doing an interview backstage. Bear in mind I was like 18, 19 and I heard them start and I was like, I'm really sorry. I'm going to run out and watch the Rolling Stones. And they were fine. And halfway through the set, Keith Richards came out and played this song by himself. And I'll just always remember it as the first time I played Glastonbury. This song kind of followed me around. And then I ended up months later, the Rolling Stones did a gig in London. And I played on the same gig, but there was like different tents involved, and I got to see it again. I went for Kings of Leon, Molly's Chambers. So when I was about 14, 15, that's kind of when you start to fall in love with music for yourself. And there was 2 things going on. So there was indie music everywhere, and that's what me and my friends loved. We'd get ready for parties, go to parties and listen to it. We'd come home and listen to it. And there was a lot of British indie bands that we loved. And the Kings of Leon were kind of like our gods, as it were. I was obsessed. I absolutely loved them.
You want it, well, she's got it. Molly Cyrus gonna change your mind. She's
Well, what happened was my sister had a boyfriend and he left around a copy of their third album. And I found it and I just loved it. And then what I normally do when I find a band is go back and find their first record and start listening to them like that. So, yeah. Yeah, it soundtracks my early teens completely. And it was only last week me and a friend put on there's a DVD of them on tour. And we put it on. And I didn't expect me to get so excited, but it was like being a kid again. I absolutely loved it. It just reminds me of, if I'm honest, it reminds me of drinking too young and being very excited. The next track was Bob Dylan, Tambourine Man. Hey, Mr. Tambourine Man. I must have been about 13 or 14, and there was a trick where you would you'd have like an MP3 player, and you'd put the headphone through your school jumper and out of your sleeve, and then you could hold the headphone and just pretend you were listening with your headphone in your ear. And I remember listening to this. I had a best of Bob Dylan, and you know, he is an older act, but in my head he was ancient. This was music from like a different world. And this, especially Tambourine Man, it was kind of this story that I could picture it so clearly. But it felt like I would look around me in the class. I was like, this is so, I don't know, far removed from where I am right now. And I just loved it.
Hey, Mr. Tambourine Man, play a song for me. I'm not sleepy, and there is no place I'm going to. Hey, Mr. Tambourine Man, play a song for me. In the jingle.
Again, it's like the Beatles. I'm sure he does everybody. I think it's more he inspired me to pick up a guitar and start doing that. Yeah, I think it's more he inspired me to pick up a guitar and start, you know. And if I'm honest, I don't listen to him that much anymore, just because I absolutely rinsed it when I was a kid. It's all I listened to. So I do dip in every now and then, but yeah. My last track, I've gone for Miley Cyrus, #GetItRight. And there's a reason I've gone for this song. I love pop music, and I love it when people just do it and they don't think about, you know, what are people going to think of this or that. And that was that album for me. It was just complete, I'm doing my thing. And I loved that. And I think, you know, I mean, we're still talking about it now. I think it's a great record.
But we gotta get it right. We can't get it wrong. Don't you wanna feel the spark before it's gone? Yeah, yeah.
Miley brought out her record Bangers just at a time when I was starting to tour for the first time. And I loved the album. And it was kind of, it soundtracked quite a strange time in our life because it was, I don't know, I was travelling around for the first time and seeing all these things. And we are here in Amsterdam. And I was actually lucky enough to see Miley Cyrus in Amsterdam. So we played the Best Kept Secret Festival, jumped in a car, drove to Amsterdam. And I remember I had sushi for the first time that night. For the first ever sushi. Big night for me. I had first ever sushi, watched Miley Cyrus, which was insane, and then went back to the hotel and there was people having a big fight in the hotel room next to me. Yeah, so a very memorable night. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, you can leave a comment, you could subscribe, you can watch more videos like this. You do you.